I am wrapping up the 7 or 8 week series on Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself and You Are the Placebo, and it has dovetailed into the month's theme, which is change your life, change your thinking. Which for you, any of you who are new that we're here today, that knows that that's kind of the foundation of science of mind. Although Dr. Holmes wrote it a wee bit differently. He said, change your thinking, change your life. And the more that I do this work and the more that I study and do the research, it really is about, well, if you've been drawn here by something calling you, not just by someone saying, come with me to church and then I'll take you to lunch. If there's something that has called you here, you're probably wanting to change your life. That doesn't mean your life is bad or wrong or less than, but there is something within you that wants to change your life, and the way to do that is to change your thinking. And I want you to also know that energetic of wanting to change is natural. It is organic. It is exactly who you are and what this philosophy was created about, because change is constant. We are all energy fields, vibrational. Nothing is static within the universe. Nothing. So the fact that every once in a while you want to change, or even the seasons change, that is part of the natural order of life. So you get to flow into that. And so if that call to change, you're looking for tools by which to do that, you come to the right place. So today's talk is titled, Is it live or is it Memorex? The fact that there were some chuckles about that tell me the age level of the group. I guess myself included, or I wouldn't have found that title, would I? But for those of you who are so young and may not know, there was a whole campaign. Well, that was before CDs. Remember we used to have things called cassette tapes? Yeah. In the olden days when we used to walk to school in the snow, we had cassette tapes. And one of the popular companies that produced them, or a high quality, was called Memorex. And there used to be a campaign where they would play a commercial and you would hear like a beautiful opera singer singing, and then it would be, is the opera song live or was it on tape? Was it Memorex? And the reason that I'm bringing it in this way is because, as I've been talking much more scientifically of late, research shows, studies ad nauseum about the fact, the synthesized fact, that your wonderful human brain can't really discern the difference between a real situation or an imagined one. Imagine. See, oh, don't you love the synchronicity of spirit? To choose that song. And I know that Linda and the choir probably chose that song weeks and weeks ago, but to choose it for today's talk and for today's Peace Day. So if your brain can't tell the difference between a real event and something that you imagine and rehearse over and over again, the idea being is a little bit John Lennon, a little bit Walt Disney, is to use imagination to your benefit. To begin to change your life, change your thinking by imagining and then rehearsing those things that you want to experience. The challenge for most of us is that we tend to rehearse things over and over again that we don't want. Our stories. And I've talked all this series about the fact that our thoughts are addictive. And our thoughts create the emotions in our body chemistry that create an experience out here. And then what happens is kind of the hamster wheel situation, is that if you create a situation, an emotion out here, and your body starts to feel it, then your brain goes, oh, you're feeling anxious. Something must be up. And it starts going through the card catalog file of your brain going, oh, you're anxious? Let's see, if you're anxious and you're at work, oh, it must be, do you remember that time when the boss came in and told you off and then you got fired? That must be what's happening now. So your thoughts start creating more anxious feelings, which make you not feel so good. And then you go, I don't feel so good. Oh my gosh, it must be. And you realize that cycle that you're in. You're in this rut. The groove has been so deeply entrenched because you are imagining. You are already imagining. The boss says, okay, I want you to come in. I have a meeting with you. You start, you feel in your throat. It tightens in your gut. You start to breathe, and then you don't feel good. So then the brain starts to make sense of that and goes back and goes, oh, my gosh. It's because I was late last week. Oh my gosh, it was because I didn't get that report in on time. Oh my gosh, he's going to fire me. I know it. And you go through that whole thing, and you know what it's like, and you go into the office, and you're just like, your heart's palpitating, you're sweating, and then the boss just wants to say, listen, I've decided that I think you've been here long enough, let's give you a raise, and I'll see you. And you go, what? But your body, which has that memory cycle, went through all of that stuff because it imagined what was going to happen based on your story from the past, because emotions are only in the past. I know that's going to throw you a curve, ain't it? But the emotions that you have, why is that? Because they resonate to something that you think or feel that's out here. And then when you have that emotion, your brain goes, oh, that's happy time. Oh, look out, run, fight or flight, run, get out of there, quick. Danger, danger, Will Robinson, danger. So those emotions remind you of the past, which then starts that hamster wheel cycle again of feeling, then thinking about and then thinking, and then feeling, and you go forward. And this is where imagination can serve you to change your life, to change your thinking. I said to you before, the statistics, that we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of those thoughts are the same ones we had yesterday. Or the day before, last week, last year, same ones. That's that human thing. So if we choose to change our life, we must change our thinking, which is why you come to a center like this, to learn some techniques called meditation, spiritual mind treatment, prayer, all of these things, mindfulness, awareness, so that when you're in the middle of the cycle and you just got the call, oh, your boss wants to see you in his office right now, and you start to go gulp, gulp, and the heart palpitates, you have an opportunity to become aware, to become mindful, and shift that and not rehearse the old story. And not rehearse the fact that your colleague, did get laid off 2 weeks ago. So you're thinking, uh-oh, I'm next. So you have the ability to change that using your brain, using your thoughts. And the way to do that, which is why it falls so perfectly in a center like this, and why science has come knocking on our spiritual door, is because we do it from mindfulness, awareness, and meditation. It's a perfect blend. I think if Ernest Holmes were alive today, he would be doing the happy dance because it is finally that marriage of science and spirit. I'm not even going to say religion because John Lennon said, imagine no religion, where we're not out there fighting each other because one person believes one thing versus another, but the spirit where we come into that oneness. So science and spirit are meeting to understand how to create the greater wholeness and to create the livingness of the oneness. Jim Rohn says, your life does not get better by chance, it gets better by change. Wow, well, we're ahead of the game. Since 1926, Ernest's been saying that. Change, change, change. And yet, gosh, most of the folks I ever talk to and I would go through in life or work or church, they run from change. Oh, no. It's like we've all become cats. Don't change my plan. Cats aren't very good about change. If any of you are cat lovers, owners, you know that. It's like, this is what they want. They're in charge. They may change it, but they don't want you to change it. And we are animals by biological nature, so probably we have a little of that. We don't want to have change. We like things the way they are. We want it somewhat predictable. We want it somewhat comfortable. And I spoke last week about the fact that I might encourage you and invite you to initiate change, to get comfortable and flexible with change, using small change things in your life before big things change in your life. I like to court change instead of having it thrust upon me. So I asked, and I also know that someone actually did it, I said last week, try and do something differently. I said, if you wear your watch on the left hand, put it on the right hand. So that every time you go to look at what time it is and you go, ooh, and you've just kind of slightly short-circuited yourself, which means you're going to connect new neurons, start new wiring. I'm not saying you have to keep it on the opposite hand forever, but I'm saying drive to work differently. Every day I do this. When I it's goofy, but when I leave here, I go to whatever that corner is. Thank you. That street. Thank you. And when I get there, I wait and I decide, I can go either way. I wait and I go, which way do I want to go today? And then I decide if there's a car coming this way, which means I'd have to be behind it, I decide I'll turn right. And vice versa. And so when I go home every day and something, I don't go home the same way all the time. When I drive here, I don't drive here the same way all the time. And I do that on purpose so that I'm constantly shifting just a little, constantly keeping myself alert, aware, awake, so that I can make the changes that I want to make, so that my body now starts to work with my mind in kind of a synchronicity as one instrument instead of separate entities, so that when I want to initiate a different change in my habits, my patterns to create a new project or to clean out a garage or write something, and I'm in a slump, I'm in same old, my body, when I start to say, okay, we're going to change this, we're going to get up in the morning and we're going to walk the PV track before school starts. Oh, really? Do you realize how early you have to be there? Yes, I do. But it's starting to get darker. Yay. And then I tell myself, because when I start to resist that I don't want to get up when it's darker, and then I say, yes, but if it's darker, that means it's autumn. Oh, that's a good thing. Clouds will be beautiful. I go and I walk the track. So when we want to initiate change, if we have kind of kept ourselves a little bit limber in how to change with something as simple as wearing your watch differently, driving differently, I double dog dare all of you to sit in a different seat next Sunday. Really. I'm serious. You will notice, some of you have probably noticed, that certain people sit in the same seats all the time, or at least the same side in the same area. Now, it isn't kind of like in school where it used to be sometimes if you were a new kid who moved a lot, and you go to a school and then you walk in and you go and you sit down and then people come over, it's like, well, that's my chair. Well, your name's not on it. Well, that's where I always sit. Okie dokie. So we get used to things. And we get used to things around our house that we don't see anymore. Sometimes I wish I had those kind of mobile screens so that the walls could change and I could move the art around. You know, that's one of the reasons I actually liked moving as a kid. We moved a lot. And there are pluses and minuses to that. But it also meant, oh, look, a different wall. I'll put this picture over there. This picture can go over here and do this. And it's different because then you don't see things the same way. Do you? Look. Our elves, our artistic elves, I'd like to have a different name for that, Catherine. Catherine Wright and her assistant elf, John Hawker, were here creating this for us this week. And what I know is that a lot of people who have been in the center didn't even notice it. Because you're not mindful, you don't pay attention. This isn't I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, I want us to be aware, that's the whole idea. And so we just expect it all look the same, and things change. So our charge is to be alert, awake, alive, and aware. That's how we stay mindful. That's how we stay in charge. And that would be really good for those of us who have any shred of control issues, for whatever reason. I'm telling you, this is a good thing, because then you really are in charge. Your body is no longer the master of your fate. The employers and the neighbors and the whatnot, they no longer dictate what your life's about. You are in charge with God. Those of you who missed John's meditation, I loved it, because he referred several times to God is my personality. And I thought, oh, wow. Wouldn't that be great? If what any of us think to know as God, however you want to classify it, If you thought that your version of God was your personality, I guarantee you would walk and talk differently. God is your personality. I remember being in the library as a little kid reading all those personality books, how to be popular, how to be, what's your personality like, so that you would be the best and do all this. And all of that was an external thing trying to impose itself upon me so that one would fit in, when all we ever had to do, and not that we would know that as kids and teenagers, but all we ever had to do was to have God be our personality. Our personal reality is spirit. Praise the law. Thank you, John. God is my personality. It may have to be an affirmation next month. I liked it so much. So if you're having any judgment or issues with your own personality, your own temperament, your own external livingness, if you can return to the idea that God is your personality, you're going to handle yourself differently. Live or Memorex. So, how to have, I have quotes and things. Habit is when the body becomes the mind and it runs the show, not the other way around. We talked about the example of a couple, way back at the beginning, how if someone says, oh, what's your sister's phone number? Oh, gosh, I don't know, I don't remember it, I call her every day. And then you pick up the phone or your smart device and you can automatically dial it. But you can't recite it. So that wiring, that's an indicator of what I'm talking about, is the habit of the body becoming that idea, and you already have all those habits programmed in you. So what I'm asking you to be is I should know this one, the Captain Kirk of your world, yes? That you will be the captain, and that you will know all of these things and stay in touch with the habits so that the stories don't trap you. Now, let me say, your stories are perfect. I'm not asking you, suggesting, hinting, or wanting you to get rid of your stories. Your stories are who you are. Your stories are what makes you the individuated expression of God that you are. Your stories are wonderful, and I would imagine some of your stories would not be the ones you want leading your life today. And yet they are, and they do. I don't know about you, but almost everyone I've talked to this week had a really tough week. Am I the only one who had an intense week? Oh, I guess so. Okay. All right, a couple. All right, thank you. I mean, some hard stuff. Really, that kind of stuff that keeps you awake, that kind of stuff that starts the anxiety emotions, and then that starts the stories, and then you start making up things in your head based on how you're feeling about something that just happened that may have nothing to do with anything else. And then you have to go through the 4 agreements and memorize those in your head, and then you have to breathe and get centered, and then you try and go to sleep, and it's like all a jumble. And then you don't get any sleep, and what happens when you don't get any sleep? You go, see, well, I can't do that because I didn't get any sleep, and we didn't get any sleep this morning because I now know, I used to know intellectually, but now I know when the word caterwaul, we have a wonderful, fluffy, black and white cat in the neighborhood who came to visit dawn this morning, and we're sound asleep. Way before dawn, thank you. And we hear this mournful, plaintive thing that sounds like someone's roto-rootering whatnot, and it's like, oh, okay. And so I bolt out of bed, go to see what it is, the cat, and then it's like, oh, let's see what we can do before our cat starts to respond or our dog starts to respond. And then, so we handled all of that, and then I started the story. It's not about a cat caterwauling outside our window because that hadn't happened before. But I started the stories about, oh God, here, another night without any sleep. Oh, well then I have a church. And I started the stories because the file got triggered from an external event that had nothing to do with anything, that is not impactful in the general nature of my well-being, other than I'm going to need a nap today. Other than that, but it opened the files for my stories. And then when I realized, well, I haven't had a lot of sleep, and this was a tense week, and so what did I do? I started replaying all the stuff from this week, which started me feeling even more anxious, and then I stopped. Yeah. I was like, oh my. Which is why we do the meditation, why we do the stillness, why we practice, so that whatever it is, real or imagined, that we get to change it, we get to shift it. Or we may not shift the event, because it's an event, it happened, that's a fact. But I mean, isn't the truth of us. So this fact can happen to us on the outside. How we respond to it, what we do with it, is our choice. That is where we are the Captain Kirk. That is where we are in control. How we respond to it. What do we want to do? Do we want to continue the story? I don't think so. I don't want your stories to disappear, dissolve. They made you who you are. They got you here. They brought you to this place of expanded expression and to know more, to feel more, to be more. Learning something new every day helps you to create new pathways, new neurons, new thoughts. And so therefore, a new you. Chico, new thought center. Think about what you're thinking about right now. Think about what you're thinking about right now. Now change it. And change it again. Now, it may have seemed a little odd to say, think about what you're thinking about, because you suddenly went, yeet. But I wanted to catch you in the pattern. You may have been listening intently to my words. You may have been thinking about, I have to stop at Rayleigh's on the way home because I forgot, da-da-da-da. You may have been who knows? Because we absorb so much. There's so many thoughts. There's so much information. So you were thinking. And I said, think about what you were thinking about. And then what part of you? Who was that was thinking about what you were thinking about? Yeah, you're getting the mystical side. That's the part we want to tap into. That's the voice we want to listen to, not the committee voice. Not the one that's going to go through the card catalog and pull out another one. Oh, remember that one in 1987? Yeah. You want to listen to that voice that suddenly paid attention to what you were thinking about and then changed it. And you can play a game with yourself. Sometimes, and I've been doing this a lot lately because this working this Dispenza stuff is more of a gymnasium than when I go to yoga or walk the track, I'll tell you, because it's work, which may be why some people don't want to do it. But I can guarantee it's worth it, because it's going to give you the tool and the mindset that you need. So I mean, literally, if you start thinking or your stories come up or you feel, you go, I'm feeling something, it's weird, I don't think it's real, I don't know if it's even current, may not even be my stuff. Okay, what is it? So then change your thinking. Well, if you're in the middle of it, I'll go right back to both Einstein and Holmes. Einstein says you can't solve the problem at the level of the problem. Mr. Science, we like to pay attention to people with scientific stuff. Dr. Holmes said, if you're in the middle of your stuff, don't try and pray to fix it, to get out of it. Go see a practitioner or get still and meditate. Get beyond that so that when you do the prayer, it's coming from the wholeness. It's coming from the one mind, not trying to fix the mind. How will they ever bless all of you YouTube watchers, listeners, because I don't know how we translate that, if we transcribe that. So if you've got Einstein and Holmes saying that, and you're starting to go into something and you don't know if it's yours, you don't know if it's old, probably is if you're having an emotion, but you still don't know because you're in the middle of it and you just want out of it, you want to feel better again. One of the things that you can do, instead of trying to go, Om Shanti, I feel that I'm healthy, whole, perfect, and complete, and it's not working, I know that I am one with God, it's not working, change it completely. Sing the national anthem. Do a jumping jack. Ask yourself a question to change the wiring, to get the brain to fire differently and pay attention. Ask yourself a goofy question. Why aren't watermelons blue? And then what will happen? You go, but I don't know. What the hell? Huh? It's not. And then you'll suddenly sputter and you do it. And then within 30, 60 seconds, you realize you forgot all that. Those of you who have had children or been a child, do you remember that when you would be playing or something and you'd fall and you'd scuff and scrape and you'd be hurt and you'd be less than a blink, somebody could come over, or a puppy would walk by, and the kid would go, oh, and that, oh, this is the worst thing I heard, it's awful, has gone into, oh, puppy. We're capable of that. Children, the youth in us, we know how to do that innately, don't we? We can change that. We can play. So if you're in the middle of it, find a way to breathe, get present. If that doesn't shift it enough for you, ask yourself a question. Do something physically different to break the wiring pattern. And then when you've done that, after that, if you're not feeling better, that's when you do your prayer, or that's when you call a practitioner, or that's when you do your alternate nostril breathing, and you do whatever you do, your version of a spiritual practice to get you centered and clear, and you move on. It's what we get to do. And then, when we start to choose what it is we want, we start to play that over and over in our head. The reason we have vision boards from classes is so that we start to see pictures that match what we want to outpicture. We have affirmations every Sunday, not because I get a thrill for typing them, but because then you can use them to help wash away the negative affirmations that we say over and over again. And then you start living, dreaming. You may say, I'm a dreamer, and I hope you do, but I'm not the only one. I know that. You wouldn't be sitting here if there wasn't a part of you that was dreaming to be different, to be the greatest expression of you, God's personality that you can be. We give you the tools. We point you in the right direction with books and classes and meditations and treatment, and we give you everything that you need to move you forward so that as you rehearse this, when you say, is it live or is it Memorex, it won't matter because it's going to be one. Your out picture will match the in picture. The in vision that you have will begin to be out here. And then the world is at the fingertips of your mind. It's kind of that simple. And yes, it takes work. And when I say work, it means diligence in terms of mindfulness and being willing to do it, and having a great deal of patience with yourself, because it's a change. So because it's International Peace Day and we are one, I am going to wrap this up with something in a minute from Pope Francis. I love Pope Francis. The man is the progressive Pope that is saying a whole lot of religious science stuff in a way that is being heard by, forgive the pun, the masses. And I think it's part of that change, and I love that. And so if what I've been saying these past 7 or 8 weeks pokes you, is uncomfortable, stretches you, because the theme last year was think outside the box. This year's theme was passion and purpose. And if you are having trouble thinking outside the box and stretching outside your comfort zone, I will say what John Maxwell said, which is blow up the box. If you're in the box and you go, oh, I don't know if I can stretch over here, and if you're short and you're kind of peering over the top of it and you're having trouble and you go, well, get rid of the box. Stand in that wholeness, that oneness, and yes, what may feel like some uncertainty, which is the divine. And then start to use everything that you've been hearing about all these years and make the difference, make the change. So I'm going to close with this lovely, this was from Pope Francis' 10 top tips for a happier life. I love that. I love it. So he says, number 1, live and let live. He likes James Bond movies, I don't know. Everyone should be guided by this principle, he says. Move forward and let others do the same. From the Pope. Number 2, be giving of yourself to others. People need to be open and generous towards others, he said, because if you withdraw into yourself, you risk becoming egocentric. and stagnant water becomes putrid. You risk becoming egocentric if you withdraw. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be an introvert. Although now that it's autumn, you might actually see me around Chico because I can go out and won't fry under the sun. Number 3, proceed calmly in life. Where's our theme for this? The design I created on my app, which was keep calm and pray on. The Pope and I are one. Proceed calmly in life. 4, have a healthy sense of leisure. The Pope said, consumerism has brought us anxiety. He told parents to set aside time to play with their children, turn off the TV and electronic devices when they sit down to eat. The Pope said it, not me. 5, Sundays should be holidays. Workers should have Sundays off because Sunday is for family. Hello, family. Oh, I guess if today's a day off, bye-bye, family. Number 6, find innovative ways to create dignified jobs for young people. We need to be creative with young people. If they have no opportunities, that's when they get into more vulnerable things like drugs. Number 7, Chicoans will like this, respect and take care of nature. Environmental degradation is one of the biggest challenges we have, he said. I think a question that we're not asking ourselves is, isn't humanity committing suicide with this indiscriminate and tyrannical use of our nature? Forward thinking. Number 8, secret religious scientist. Number 8, stop being negative. Needing to talk badly about others indicates low self-esteem. That means I feel so low that instead of picking myself up, I have to cut others down, the Pope said. Letting go of negative things quickly is healthy. This man is running the Catholic Church and he's talking our talk. That is awesome to me. Number 9, don't proselytize. Respect other people's beliefs. Well, bring a friend to church day. We can inspire others through witness so that one grows together in communicating. But the worst thing of all is religious proselytism. I'm talking with you in order to persuade you. No, each person dialogues starting with his or her own identity. The church grows by attraction, not by proselytizing. That's spiritual mind intention right there. And yes, we do advertising. Yes, we want to tell people about what we do and, share all of that. And if all of us would collectively go to the intention of what it is we do here and why we love it, set that intention, it becomes like the bat signal light out to the universe, and we start to attract people who think like we do, who want to be here and share our music, our social hour, our youth, growing the youth. So our first charge as a Center for Spiritual Living is to set the intention for the attraction. And from that attraction and intention might come the action, which looks like, marketing and flyers and social media, etc. Number 10, perfect for today, work for peace. We are living in a time of many wars, he said. The call for peace must be shouted. Peace sometimes gives the impression of being quiet, but it is never quiet. Peace is always proactive and dynamic. Well, on today, this International World Day of Peace, we've got the leader of the Catholic Church saying the same thing that John Lennon was singing in the 60s, 70s. Maybe that was 80s. The same thing that Jill Jackson and Cy Miller were writing and singing when they wrote, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me." The same thing that was during the 60s and the Aquarian Age and the revolution of peace, peace, peace. So we have a charge from the Pope. We have a charge from most of the spiritual religions, from our entertainment industry, from the music, from the poets, from the artists. We have a charge, but that charge actually generates from within ourselves first. It is to have that peace of mind. Well, I'll go back to the Bible, the peace that passes human understanding. If we get to the peace that passes human understanding, there wouldn't be wars, because it's the humans that are fighting it. We get to that higher level and that knowingness and the beingness, because you can't just know something. It has to be head, heart, organic expression. That's peace on earth. That's what we get to do. That is our charge. Well, it's my charge. My charge. So you may say I am a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join me. And the world will and can live as one. Let's pray. Notice what you're thinking right now. Just be with it for a few seconds. Don't judge it. Notice if it resonates any emotions in the body. And if from that emotion it created or accessed a previous thought. And then if you notice all of that, do what you can in your own way to step back from all of that. In your mind's eye, literally take a step back, open the hands, and be. Let your breath be a guide to that, so that if you feel anxious or your mind starts to jumble, just breathe. Breathing in the inspiration of spirit, exhaling anything that feels unlike that. For we want to be in that wholeness, we want to be in that place of stillness, oneness, and peace, so that we proceed with our closing prayer from that. And I usually speak this closing prayer in first person so that it can echo within your mind if you choose it to, rather than me speak it out and direct it at you or we. I know that there is only one mind, one life, one heart. Call it God, call it spirit, call it nature, but call it. Access it. Let it permeate your being so that God, spirit, becomes your personal reality, your personality. And from that, I know that I am all that God is. I am the stars and the cosmos. I am the trees. I am the beautiful animals. I am the laughter of children. I am the wisdom of books and education. I am the joy of play and creativity and art, music. I am all of that and more. And now that I know who I am, I know that I may declare that all of this kingdom, this life, this paradise is mine to use, to appreciate, to enjoy, to love, to co-create, to dance with. Dance with. John said it again this morning in his meditation, a dance between the breath and the heartbeat. The dance between my breath, heartbeat, and spirit becoming one, and letting anything that stands in the way of that, any external trappings, any old stories and postcards from the past, just dissolve. They dissolve into the past, which is no longer, so that my future lies before me in smiling repose and says, yes, yes. I don't even have to fill in what that future looks like. I don't have to say about a job or money or relationships and health and all of that. That which is within me knows. And I am brave and courageous that I stand open and receptive to know that, to trust that. And so if anything today, my prayer is to be at peace with that, to be at peace with myself, my small s ego personality self, and my big capital S self, the higher self of God as me, and know that oneness, even if it's for a split second. And if I can know it for a split second, I can know it for 5 split seconds and then more and more, and it multiplies because what we put our attention on increases. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So how good it is to know this oneness, to echo words of the wisdom of our ancestors that have inspired us and led us from Buddha to Holmes, Jesus the Christ, to our current leaders, whether it be the Pope in the Vatican or Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Deepak Chopra, or your own cat or dog at home that sits with you, looks at you, shows you that unconditional love and is in present time, and you go, ah, yes, I remember. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. For I am a dreamer. I am a co-creator with Spirit. And we build this dream together to be one that is filled with joy, love, and peace. Thank you, Spirit. I release this service, this meditation. I stand back, I let it be, I trust it, and I ask that you join me as we say together, and so it is, and so I am, and so we are. Amen.